That's
Yeah.
it. That's the formula for Cerberus Esports, which is precisely what we're going to get walking into this one, as we're going to be going into game number 2, Vox Esports taking on Cerberus, trying to get their first win of the split. They got the first win, trying to get the first series win of the entire split. And how do you get more comfortable than literally anything on Cerberus Esports? I feel like this is almost picture perfect what I would see from this composition if they got everything that they wanted. So you got Pun on a tank, especially like Cassante. I think that's a perfect champion. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of that for Pun. And then Lee Sin, whether it's Ego or Drakthar, I think this is the right champion, although I prefer Graves for Drakthar. I do think that the Lee Sin's perfectly fine. Great playmaker for him. Yato on his Ahri, which was the best champion he played all last fight. He was like undefeated on this champion, and he was terrible on everything else. So getting Yato back on comfort. And then you've got Artemis on a super hyper carry, probably one of my favorites to see him on with the Jinx. And then Rano P, the only thing that's missing from this is the Alistar, because that's probably more Rano P style. But otherwise, you have Thanos composition coming in for Cerberus here.
Yeah. Whoa. We have a bot lane
immediate
fight.
level 1 play. I actually want to see them. I kind of wanted to see them keep going. Although they did burn 2 summoners. They actually both burned Cleanse and Ignite to start off that one. But I kind of wanted to see more.
But very volatile now, only Flash is available. But I want to go back to the LeBlanc, because you were so hyped, so I'm not very interested to hear you talk about the LeBlanc. Tell me a bit about your expectation for new LeBlanc and what makes her a little bit different. We saw new Azir, so today it seems like Nuga is just treating us to reworked champions.
Yeah, so the LeBlanc's really cool because, number one, her wave control got infinitely better. I don't know if you know what the Q change was. The Q change, if you hit a minion, first off, it does a little bit of bonus damage and also returns 100% of the mana you spent on the ability, which means your Q is now a farming tool. Very, very easily. That's step number 1.
Like kind of like Annie Q.
Exactly, it's like Annie Q, which is quite nice with a little bit of bonus damage. That's why a lot of people are maxing it first, so you go like Q max to begin the laning phase, which is why I am a little bit interested why Nogo went for the first strike, because you can get good value out of it. But I've seen Airy a lot in the laning phase, and that's because you literally will dump 2 Qs into somebody, and that's all you'll do. The champion's become a poke champion, believe it or not, during the course of the laning phase, which has improved the laning of LeBlanc, which has been, in my opinion, the hardest part of playing LeBlanc in like ever since she got some reworks and some touch-ups, is that the lane hasn't been as dominant, but after you get your first, second item, then she becomes the pure unadulterated assassin. So what they did to improve her was they said, hey, let's make her laning phase a bit better, which is why first strike makes some sense, and I think Airy makes some sense. If it's somebody you're bullying, you go Airy. It's harder to do that against Ahri, so you go first strike for some bonus gold. It's a little bit of scaling to begin the game, and a little bit of bonus damage if you really, really want it, but it's mostly to get under your item spikes pretty quickly to ensure that you're ready and raring to go. Still have to wait for second item before you become like a full assassin champion before anything else, but again, the laning phase has improved dramatically from where it was before the changes.
Okay, so we should see her be a little bit quieter than maybe we would have expected from prior iterations, especially in the laning phase, but maybe Drakthar can punish this one. Oh, he...
Wolf. Gonna miss the Q. Here's Tomrio too. Both junglers just here to siphon some experience from their mid laners.
Yeah, it looks like Tomrio just wants to fix the wave that was pushed in here. Yeah, both junglers just meeting and immediately departing from the mid lane again because they don't want to see each other. They kind of just hate being on the same screen together. They just want to get kills on the lanes. So nothing really happened so far. Also, you respect Artemis going back early on to purchase a cull. Something I like to do a lot as well, especially in quiet lanes where you don't expect to do much. So yeah, Artemis just ready to get... Ooh, actually forcing the flash out of Nugu.
Really well played from Nugu to not get hit up by that Q, though.
Very, very nice.
Should buy enough space for probably enough space for a decent push in here from Yato if Yato wants another back. But both of these two have actually backed and teleported back to lane already. So
with the same items too.
Weird. Yeah, with the same exact items. The only difference is DMATs are done for Nugu, so that means Nugu is actually going to have decent wave pressure here with Ws and Qs kind of being stacked up. In fact, Nugu's not even going for the Q max. He actually went an extra level into Distortion. I think because there's no DMAX from Yato, he knows now he can have pushing power with W and Q on top of it. So like Nugu, if you go up to 3 points in Distortion, now you have better wave control and you can start accessing mid-fight. So now you become a roaming champion a little bit more than you would in a normal matchup as Nugu. So Nugu's showing off some expertise on champion builds. I'm loving this from him today.
Yeah, unfortunately, in terms of just pure play, he is really struggling to keep up with the Yato's pressure. He has now called both his support and his jungler to fix the wave for him because he's struggling so much in the 1v1. Also, both of these mid laners going Doran's Ring and the corrupting pot, so it's just perma sustain on both sides. It's just a war of attrition that never ever ends because everyone has so many resources to attack into. So mid lane is a little silly in this game, but unfortunately all the other lanes are very quiet as well. So it's just one of those new VCS style games where nothing happens for 50 minutes.
Interesting. It's not something we're accustomed to, Yolway. I missed the days of the 18 kills by 5 minutes into it because we were just constantly perma-fighting. Or my personal favorite, which was a 2021 winter where we just coin flipped every single Rift Herald, the entire split, every single. Literally at the 8-minute mark, both teams showed up full 5 members and just said, "All right, whoever wins this fight wins the game."
Hey, we are still the only competitive region to ever play on the unnerfed original Chemtech Drake. And we actually had a game where a team came back against the Chemtech Soul, against the unnerved Chemtech Soul.
Okay, hold on a minute. That also involved a very rough glitch that meant that the Chemtech Soul didn't work on somebody.
You're right.
Because it was so broken. Not that I'm going to give any loss. Saigon Buffalo was really bad. That's poor Froggy's Rise is just going to get that clip's going to live forever in infamy. Nothing that he died with the Chemtech Drake and cost the team quite a bit. Good times, reminiscing about old VCS.
Also, Cerberus just walked up to MBE, told them to go away, and took the dragon right in front of their noses. And MBE respected that. Okay, MBE is a little scared. I think they will play this game a little bit more carefully because they're so hyped
Pun
now.
Win these? Win these? Oh, I thought Pun was going to go for it. Tom Rio did have to burn the smite for it, though. He was terrified he wasn't going to be able to confirm it. Pun just gives him a little bit of a smacking around. But yeah, Cerberus just took their lunch money a little bit a couple of times. Pun
Really?
walked into river freely. They grabbed the dragon. That's some bullying right there.
Oh,
he missed the chain.
Very close. Now, no ultimate for Nugu. Can they do anything about it? He doesn't have flash, remember? So if the charm lands, he's dead. Mid lane, please! Mid lane!
Okay, and nope, doesn't matter. We're too busy. Look at that. Look at that farm. Slows. Nuts.
Look at that.
Look at that. Perfect farming. Insane. Oh, top lane a fight. There we go. All right, had to be flash from Sunmer. As Pun. Going Pun V9 right now. Absolutely insane on this Cassante. Draktar's here for the cover for Tomrio as well. He's not going to end up getting anything. Rift Herald is going to be on the board. So with the mid lane pressure looking like that's going to be the case. I wonder if we get a replay. Oh, hey, look at that. All right.
Yeah.
Like you had said, let's see if it was a charm or not.
Yeah, it's ult into charm into Lee Sin collapsing. Yep.
That was awful. Like, that was not my favorite play I've ever seen from Nugu. So that was he just kind of stood there and everything happened around him. Again, he got wedgied right there in the mid lane as Cerberus is playing a lot more bullying of a style. Drakthar did have to leave the Rift Herald. The comfort and protection of the Rift Herald. Nugu's redeployment onto the map did prevent that from going down. Zodiac is here. His Pun is also going to enter into the fight. Summoner is at half health. That is an instant engage into Drakthar. You are not allowed to show your face here at all. As Pun is going to get chased out of the top side of the map. Sunmer going to try to chase him down. Pun is going to go down eventually to the Gnar as the strike back. They've been getting bullied, and finally Revenge of the Bullies comes in. Vods Esports says, I have had enough. 2 kills and a Rift Herald over to this squad as they're going to get a massive gold injection.
Well, MBE strike back, and at least they get some gold onto their targets here. But, I mean, Pun, once again, Pun this series is really just not finding the mark, unfortunately. Hopefully he can step up in this game, because this is now looking a little dangerous. This is MBE for 2 games in a row, actually playing a close early game against Cerberus. And yes, Cerberus is not the greatest early game team, but neither is MBE.
Oh, what in the world?
One more?
So close. No, Artemis shorted his traps, though. That was the problem. Now Nugu's in a little bit of trouble as well. Yano's going to be able to chase him down. Flash forced out from Nugu, as that is not going to end up being his demise. Again, though, like, Artemis just barely shorted the traps, which would have been the execution on his Zodiac. Did shove him out, and now there's a dive potential as Drakthar is underneath of the bottom tower. Oh, actually, just going to take up the Grump. Going to let them farm away at this tower, get a couple of plates. I feel like they could have kicked Zodiac into the rest of the team, did fine right there, and got an additional kill. Instead, just going to yoink away a Grump, walk out of the jungle, hands free, nothing crazy. Cerberus even up the gold right there.
Yeah, good play. And Cerberus, I think in this game is looking to control the dragon a little bit better than last game, because of course they lost their way in the bot lane river. They traded first dragon last game against first Rift Herald, and this time it went the exact other way. And I feel like in a game where both teams are looking to teamfight in the late game, where you can't accelerate the early game too heavily, the first dragon always goes a little bit better in terms of scaling wars compared to the first Rift Hold. So I think Cerberus made the correct adjustment. Wow. Yeah, this is just going to be one plating, because there's literally not a single bit of damage on this tower so far, because Yado has been playing the laning phase unbelievably well into Nugu, completely out-pushing him and just out-trading him from start to finish. So.
Yeah, in spite of Nugu's access of some of the new champions, the expertise on Ahri by Yado has been easily overshadowing that by any capacity whatsoever. Is like you said, Nugu has pulled so much resource from the remainder of the map, so much other stuff, and is still down 10 minions, 11 minions. Artemis is still, or my apologies, Yado is still out trading him ridiculously. So that's unbelievable.
Yeah, the game is still even though, so MBE holding up pretty well. I am a little bit worried about Nugu on this champion, because he doesn't look too confident, and it looks like he's a little too nervous on this new champion. Where do you think LeBlanc goes if she doesn't get an early lead? Is it still a big worry, or does she actually do better now?
I mean, you're fine as long as you get into, like, if you get out of second dragon territory without being so far down that you cannot assassinate people, you're okay. That's perfectly fine. I think, like, this champion is no longer just like the early game menace of old. This is why I don't think the Lissandra counter works as well anymore. Like, the champion just has not been the same as it was. You don't play super aggressive at the beginning. That's why Lissandra used to beat her with Aftershock, because it's like, okay, LeBlanc has to win the landing phase. So if I go Aftershock, I deny her all in, I end up killing her, and then, like, you know, LeBlanc is dead. Now LeBlanc plays for second item, and it's like, okay, like, Lissandra now is dead as a champion, and now you have no way of counteracting her, and it's gotten even worse with the new changes. So I think you're fine if you're Nugu. I just worry that Nugu is not doing the right things on this. As Sunmer gonna get shoved back, gonna get ulted back by Cassandra. It's just dead. Woo! Goodness gracious, Vox Esports.
Take a look at that flash timer. That is beautifully done there. Just timing the flash to perfection. It's just coming up now, a few seconds away. So Sunmer, he felt safe. You always feel a little bit safer when you see your flash timer tick down to 10 seconds. You're there, nothing can happen to me. But they punish exactly that timing.
Right.
Oh, nicely done.
Artemis saved, making sure. Nice play by RodoP, ensuring that the AD is not going to go down. Although, it was interesting. I thought they would play for more plates on the top side. They did get the 2, but that was about it. So they got the kill and the 2 plates in exchange for the dragon on bottom side.
Yeah, not the biggest fan either. I literally just set up their Dragon Snowball as the win condition, and then they completely disregard that once again. But at least Artemis is farming really nicely and keeping safe. He's now has completed his cull, so the purchase is gonna come and pay some dividends. He is behind in items, but yeah, with the cull purchase that makes some sense. He also lost a few platings. But I think Artemis is in a good position to step up and be the main carry in this game to bail Cerberus out, because of course they don't want to lose the series against MBE. One game doesn't really matter in the long run. We are playing best of 3s, and game difference can be a deciding factor, but only if you tie. So this team is still very far ahead of their competitors. So as long as they make sure that they win the series in the end, everything is fine. But they need to actually win the series. You can't afford to lose another game to MBE.
You cannot. You don't want to, at minimum. Again, it's too crazy of a circumstance here for them to not be able to manage these types of things. Like, it's a circumstance where it's like I worry for this team, because Cerberus has this really bad history of backsliding, and they still have to play 3 of the top teams in the league. So you're pretty sure you're going to lose to GAM. That's kind of a foregone conclusion most of the time anyway, in the same way that this should have been a win in a lot of circumstances. And you're still playing against teams that are right by you in the standings, like Wales and SBTCE. So there's a fear that, like, they might not hit 8 wins, which I know you said was the cutoff for playoffs. Yep. But when they've got 3 series left and they're losing against the bottom team in the league, if they can't figure things out, it could be really, really rough. So I am a little bit hesitant to say it's okay to lose a series like this because you've got space. Because again, it's not impossible to lose every other series on the back end of this split when you've got teams directly behind you trying to do the exact same thing, trying to make that qualification for playoffs. Cerberus has to do a little bit better. So it would be nice to see them turn this around, just take their 8th win of the split, try to get themselves in a better position for playoffs. Really, really don't put themselves in a corner where it's like, okay, they have to worry about other teams' success more than their own than anything else.
Cerberus approaching from different sides. They want to corral them into a fight. That was very close to hitting slows there. But MBE playing this situation a little bit more defensively. I am in two minds about if I like it or not. At least they're keeping themselves safe, but I feel like they're giving up objectives a little too easy, or positioning on objectives, especially on the top side. Han has been playing with so much confidence, sometimes overconfidence, but also buying so much space for his team. Look at him once again. He kind of just solo scared them off the top side objective, and it's another 3-1 for Cerberus there. So Cerberus getting back into good position. If you look at their gold lead, they're actually ahead by 1.5k, so they are slowly but surely getting control in this game.
They are, and especially with the Rift Herald now, I mean, if they're able to force even a couple of auto attacks here, which is exactly what Artemis is going to be doing, yeah, they crack this tower very, very easily, as that's going to be the Rift Herald going down. And Artemis, I was worried for a second. There was a big engage coming in, but obviously gets pulled out by Rano P. So big props to Rano P again, being able to allow Artemis with a bit of positioning. Pun is going to get almost brought down. That shield might be enough. Yeah, just gonna get him out. That was so risky. I thought Pun was dead to rights. That's why I wasn't even talking about what was happening on the bottom side. I was like, yeah, Pun just got executed, but not the case. Instead, Box Esports burns a bunch, not able to get a kill onto Artemis or onto Pun right there. So they just lose the mid lane tower for nothing.
They try to punish, and they're trying so hard in this game. They're playing a decent game, but they're just slowly falling behind the curve. It's not over, definitely not over. They have a dragon, they are scaling alright, they have a lot of playmaking potential on their team, but it just feels inevitable that Cerberus is gonna ultimately just win a team fight and get ahead. But honestly, we thought the same in the last game, so MB is still playing a very close series, probably their best series by far. I mean, they won a game, which they haven't been able to before, so it's per definition their best series, but also just the level of play is much higher than some of what we've seen from this team before. They are going to lose another dragon of this reset, so it's going to be dragon number 2 for Cerberus, but that's alright for MBE. It's very far away from Soul still. It's not number 3, so MBE has some time to step back, think about how they want to play the rest of the game, and then maybe at the next dragon fight in 5 minutes, find a better position in the river.
Okay. I mean, the game's going to go for a distance, which is weird, because this is how I think Box Esports really took the last one, is that they got into a stage of the game that was like a little bit further in. And we do know that obviously Cerberus is good at team fighting, but it was provable that Box Esports could win in the late game if the right circumstance kind of arose. Slows is not farming poorly by any standard whatsoever. Is kind of right there alongside the rest of the team. You still have some solid knockup. Nugu is still a beast as well, slowly scaling up again. Will be on double pen items here when the Shadow Flame likely gets done alongside the Sword Shoes, which means that there is the threat that Artemis just gets executed rather than getting jumped on and being able to be pulled away by Rano P. So there's avenues for Box Esports, even though they're down a bit of gold. Down their dragon obviously is a decent win condition that could end up, costing him at least a little bit. They're not out of the woods yet.
Yeah, but we talked about this before the game started, right? We criticized Cerberus' draft for the maybe harder to execute composition, low range composition with Illusion in the last game. This time, oh, never mind, Yado.
Okay, just dead. Not much to say. Yep. A lot of members kind of dogpiled on Yado right there as Box Esports.
Good play.
They've actually done this a couple times now where they've just dogpiled on a single member trying to pull some amount of gold, and it works out well because Artemis, or my apologies, Yado, he has flash, he has ultimate, he has a lot of escape tools, just can't burn any of them in time. Yeah,
you really wouldn't expect an Ahri to be vulnerable to this kind of attack, but just really nicely chain CC from MBE. They strike, and I really like their sense of engage in this series, where they're just so active, they just always look for plays. An old school VCS kind of mindset coming in. I think it's really good. It's paying dividends in this series, and it's making Cerberus actually reconsider how they play against MBE. Remember last time they played against each other, it was a pure stomp. Ego came in, and Cerberus kind of took it lightly, and they got away with it. But MBE is a much better team now, and Cerberus has to actually step back and think about this. They have to play a good game to beat this team today.
All right. I love that Box has now come online. It does suck that it's this late in the split, but like we had for a while there, it was like 7 teams competing for playoff, or probably what I would have said is 5 teams competing for playoff spots. Flash did a lot better in this split as well. So there's currently 2 teams sitting at 3 and 6, and we're a ways out from Box being anywhere near even those teams trying to get out of relegation. I think they're for the most part cemented into relegation without anything, and without hoping that Team Secret and Flash both kind of end up in a position where they're below them in the standings, and maybe not mathematically stuck in plans or whatever it is. But the fact that Box is now starting to kind of scale up, starting to get wins, starting to get big plays here against Cerberus is telling that I'm hoping that this team is able to stick around through next split, because it would be nice to see this squad kind of return. It doesn't happen all the time. We always get squads get torn to pieces and then end up getting rebuilt the next kind of split. We don't usually get the exact same roster top to bottom a second time in a row. But if Box continues to have success on the back half of the split, even with very mild improvements, they could become a team that looks better as they find a nice charm on Atomrio. Not going to get anything else. They're just going to continue pushing for this tower. There's 3 members here, but I do not know that the defense can actually mount effectively. Ziato, another charm, this time a huge execute as Drakthar was able to get a kick. Tomrio not able to get brought down either. Instead, it's just going to be the 1 kill for 1 kill. And the continued pressure onto the top tower as well, but they're not going to be able to clean it up yet. Ziato's going to go back to mid.
Yeah, very much brute forcing their way into the lane there. A very clumsy play, I'd say, for Cerberus, where it's really just trying to outnumber them. They don't really find the play, they don't really have an opening, but they go for the play anyway. It's a 1-for-1 trade, which is alright, but it's not really what you're looking for, especially considering that the kill went to slows, will accelerate his item build a bit. So yeah, really, Cerberus looks a little bit flustered, and I wanted to come back to your point about MBE, because not only thinking about the summer split, which probably is more important for them because they are already locked out of playoffs for this one, but also looking at the last 4 series every team is going to play against them. If they're much better, if they can actually play to the level of VCS teams and punish them for mistakes more than they've been able to do so far, that's such a scary proposition, because this team has nothing to lose, right? They can pick crazy compositions, and you need to win these games because you want to compete for playoffs, and it's such a close race. So every team is now cursing because they thought it was a free game against MBE. They thought MBE was always just in the back pocket as your extra serious, but suddenly it looks like something you have to think about, you have to prepare for. So it's much more interesting for the league.
And even more funny beyond that, the 4 teams that they are playing are actually the 4 teams that are above them in the standings. Because it's SPTCE who sits in 4th, Saigon who sits in 5th, Flash who sits in 6th, and Secret who sits in 7th. So you're talking about worry for relegation, worry for the 4th playoff spot, and then the 2 5th and 6th spots that will confirm you for the next split. You don't have to play in relegation, but you're still stuck there. All of those teams are right in the thick of it. And that's who's playing against them. Like, if they beat Cerberus in a 2-0, you have to be so concerned with what's going to happen as Yato makes a big play happen. Can't quite find the charm onto Tomrio, as he's going to be able to tag the Everfrost. Does force the flash out at minimum. So that's going to be a nice grab onto Slow. Slow's going to get jumped on by Drakthar. He's not going to be able to get out from behind. Now Drakthar gets executed! No smite available for this squad now. For the Dragon that could pop up. Cerberus probably just has to walk out. Box isn't really too keen on going in either. As the attempted kill, every defensive measure in the world burnt for Slows, but he was able to keep the angle so Drakthar could not find the insect, and because of that, Box are the ones that now want to walk into the Dragon. They're going to even up the Dragon count, Yolway.
And I once again really have to question what Cerberus is doing today. No time for that.
Oh, okay, now that is disastrous. Yeah. That's terrible.
That's Baron.
LeBlanc going down, 600 gold into Artemis. Does not matter that the Dragon is down now. They're even maybe going to look at Baron. Yeah, they start up Baron. They do need Pun here to tank it. Absolutely. They're going to have Drakthar back. I don't know that they're ready for this. Like, look at this. Right now, Slows is on the bottom side of the map taking Gromp. Sumner is on the bottom side of the map just farming.
It's done.
Tomrio's nowhere near here. They're just now going to see it at 3,400 health. Zodiac would have to absolutely coin flip this out of nowhere, and it's just not going to happen. Huh?
They should have known that that was an opening, because Slows was so far away from the Baron too, but it seems like either MBE just decided to give it up. But yeah, let's focus on this first, because this is such an overstep from Drakthar. It's so unnecessary too. You forced everything from Slows out of the fight. Just disengage, regroup with your Jinx, and what can Zarya even do in this teamfight now against Kassanti Jinx? There's no way you ever lose the teamfight if you just regroup with your players. So it's just a little bit of stupidity, a little bit of hubris from the side of Drakthar that gets punished, but then Nugu also jumping into that one and gets punished even more severely as Artemis gets a shutdown and they get the Baron. Now, out of nowhere, Cerberus, yes, they lose the Dragon Snowball maybe, but they also get the Baron, so now they're in a good position to advance the game state, and I'm scared to see the scoreboard because there might be an IE sitting on Artemis now.
You never want to give anything like this over to to this squad. You do not want to give Artemis any sort of additional firepower beyond anything else that would normally kind of come about. Okay, so maybe this is a bold take. I'm gonna throw it out there anyway. I think Yado has been playing some insane League of Legends this split. Like I don't know that I would be able to give it to Yado over Kadi, like the #1 mid laner of the split, but I do not know that there is even competition for the #2. I like legitimately, I know Glory's usually like around that area, Froggy's usually around that area, Artifact is usually in conversation for #1. I think it is incredibly clear cut that it's Kadi and then Yado, like in that order. Yado has had I feel like every time I've cast Cerberus, Yado has had an awesome game. So I'm like, wow, Yado was insane that game. And like, it's every game. And I'm like, at some point, I've just come to the conclusion, I'm like, wow, maybe Yado's just having an amazing split.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a quiet split. I think not a lot of people are going to notice what he's doing because a lot of the carrying is done by Artemis, right? But Yado is certainly a big asset. Speaking of assets, Artemis is dead.
Immediately into backline, Tom Rio is able to help pick off. Now Zodiac is going to go down in response. Summoner now on the front line gets charmed up by Yado, so he's not going to be able to find even anything close to the ultimate that you were going to be looking for. So it is a 2-for-1. Bot lane does go down. Mid lane tower is going to get broken. His Pun was in a very, very good position here. TP to the bottom side of the map to try to respond to everything else as LeBlanc is just going to go split pushing. He's going to be able to find that one tower of response. So all things said and done, I think it's a 2-for-1 and 2 towers to 1 traded back and forth between the two teams. Cerberus did end up with a decent gold lead, but I think it had to not be that big of a Baron buff kind of play. I think they lost a little bit of gold comparatively. If not, it was just a couple of towers that did it.
Look at that damage.
That's LeBlanc. I told you, LeBlanc is not a laning champion. LeBlanc is a scaling champion, dude.
That is absolutely filthy what you just did to Artemis. Usually you go a lot of HP, even you get a lot of HP on Jinx. She's one of the highest HP, or used to be one of the highest HP ADCs too. So to see that kind of one shot on level 13 Jinx is wow. Nugu is really strong in this game, and he's quietly gotten to a point where he can now threaten those one-shots on Artemis, and there's not a lot Artemis can do. You kind of have to rely on Ronopi to flay him away, because Artemis himself, I mean, maybe the Chompers can save him, but it's not an easy game to play on this Jinx.
And it was even crazier because going back, I never mentioned this because I wasn't trying to put him on blast too heavily, but Nugu actually had a really weird kind of build order. That was just again. Pun had so much health and he just did not leave the tower's defense. I swear I thought he was going to walk away, and that's why I wasn't even talking about it, as Zodiac almost gets brought down. Okay, throws the ultimate, does Artemis, and just wildly misses that one. And again, Nugu at the beginning of the game, he went for 2 levels in Q and then waited till level 8 to put 3rd level in, and then got, like, I think max W at level 10 or something, which is just really, really unfathomable. But Nugu knew that he had better lane pressure than Yado did at the beginning of the game, and was able to kind of keep the Ahri stuck in place a little bit longer by having the D max, by having the W max more than anything else. And now you can see the ramifications of it, that Nugu got out of laning phase mostly unscathed, pick up a couple kills here or there, and now legitimately is one-shotting people, including Pun, who got absolutely wrecked by Nugu underneath of their own tower, setting up this dragon take.
Yeah, and Pun once again, as in game 1, 2 crucial times before the dragon was spawning, he got caught somewhere on the flank. This time he was just running around in mid lane for no reason, thinking his tower could protect him, but Pun is just playing with complete disrespect to the enemy team, and after 2 games where he's been caught over and over again, he should really try to get a grip on where he's going on this game, because it's really hurting his team. It's in crucial moments too. Another dragon over to MBE. They're now in soul point. Once again, S in game 1 is going to be maybe the weakest soul in the game right now, but I feel like in this series, or at least in this composition, it's much better than in the last game. Yeah, Nugu, damage ranking #1. Both of the mid laners just completely running away with this game. It could be just who's the better mid laner in the late game, but I feel like LeBlanc is easier to have an impact on in the ultra late stages.
It's a matter of Nugu has higher skill potential to apply this LeBlanc to find assassinations, especially when you got one consistent damage carry on the side of Cerberus. You got Artemis, that's it. I'm not saying Ahri can't do a lot of damage. Like, I think Yado's doing fine with the Rabadons and with like with the Horizon focus. We'll still be doing a bunch of damage. But for the most part, when it comes front to back, when it comes to consistent damage, when it comes to your #1 carry, you have to keep Artemis alive. Nugu's going to be able to nuke him much, much faster than Artemis is going to be able to get through the entire health bar of Box Esports. That's an engage. That was an amazing charm coming in from Yato, trying to find something, and he's going to force out flashes. Tom Rio now is forced completely out of the fight. He's going to grab up mid lane. Nugu goes over the wall to find something, but cannot get even a spell off on.
Look at bot lane, though. Look at bot lane. Okay. They're buying time for the split push.
Yeah, Sumner is just winning the game right now. Is on the other side of the map, and you see that. That is actually Zaya is joining up as well. What? So they're going to try to stall for time. Zodiac came in with the ultimate just to get something, as it's going to be one for everything. Pun has to TP back to the base, as now you could potentially find something. They're going to go diving on him underneath the Baron, and that's going to be one here at the Baron pit. Drakthar is able to find a bit of damage. Nugu not going to find the execute onto him whatsoever. TP now onto the Nexus Tower as well to help out the support.
No, he stole it! Tom Rio got the Baron!
We left it at the last second! And now Artemis is going to clean up the fight around the Baron buff pit. It looks like, but goodness gracious, Box Esports with the resilience I've never seen before. Grabbed the Baron buff.
Actual good macro from this team. This team used to be by far the worst team in terms of mid and late game macro. Oh, good aim, good aim. Almost hit them there. But they just stole the Baron. They played such an insane pressure game there, escaping the Cerberus collapse in mid lane, and then instantly called their ADC to help with the push while also contesting the Baron with people just throwing their lives.
How did it get stolen?
Yeah, how did he get in there?
So did Drakthar get one? Because at one point Drakthar was insane. Okay,
way too early from Drakthar. Look at the
what
HP.
Was the kick?
Yeah, it's way too early.
Here's my question. I'm wondering if Nugu one-shots him over the wall is what happens here.
Oh!
He got him with Cyclone!
He did smite as well.
Steal it.
I do think he
did smite, but I think it dropped too early. I think he smote too early. I could be wrong about that. It's tough. We don't get the control replay, so I don't get to look it back one more. I'll probably watch it and we'll talk about it before the next game if we happen to get a next game. But oh my god, Tom Rio comes in clutch this series, gets his team a big Baron to help set up for the next soul point too. Oh my goodness.
It's incredible. Now MBE in a really good position. Look at Slows. He's so insanely strong. Look at Nugu. They have the gold advantage. The Dragon is coming up in 1.5 minutes. They are in a winning position in game number 2 against Cerberus.
It's insane to think that Artemis has this much gold, this many kills on Jinx, and we're still talking about Box Esports as having a winning position in this game. This is not a standard way to play. Gotta make sure that there's something left. They're gonna push down another tower. Sunmer is gonna be able to continue the split pushing on the Nard. That's a fight. That's a big fight as well as Stone has the Guardian.
He got him! He got him!
Immediate execute onto Artemis, and that's gonna be that. Now in the backline, I mean, Yato is doing a bit of work trying to find Nogo or Nugu right here. Not gonna be able to get the damage necessary as they find yet another kill on a Pun.
This could be game if they play their cards correctly. They have Baron buff. The Ahri can't really wave clear. They have bot lane streaming in as well. It's 5v3 on the map, and Slowest is actually life-stealing back up to... They could finish the game here. They could go 2-0 over Cerberus. They're trying to transition into bot lane.
Unbelievable. They're going to work for it. Zodiac almost gets eviscerated by that Q. He's just going to dab Penguin his way out of that one. Now the charm underneath the turret terminal is not going to tank any more of that tower. They're going to push for the end right here, right now. Nice hook from Ron OP. He's going to stall a little bit longer, so he's going to keep him alive. They don't have the damage for it. They're not going to be able to hold the Nexus. Box Esports comes out of nowhere at the end of week 5 to beat our second place